only 1.8% of all U.S. charitable giving go to women and girls causes.
Welcome to Carrie On, the show where we explore reinvention, self-discovery, and empowerment before, during, and after midlife. I'm your host, Carrie Murray. It's time to keep our head above the chaos and carry on. When tragedy strikes, most of us are left face planted on the floor with no idea how to move forward. Not Kat Curry-Williams. After losing her firstborn son, Shane, to a rare genetic disorder, she turned her grief into action. In 1997, she founded Shane's Inspiration and has led global initiatives to create inclusive sensory playgrounds throughout the world that unite children of all abilities so they can play side by side. In 2020, Kat expanded her impact by co-founding She Angels Foundation, which awards monthly grants to grassroots organizations supporting young women and girls. I am a proud advisory board member of this organization. To date, She Angels has awarded 65 grants totaling $350,000. Now Kat's best-selling book, Philanthropy on a Shoestring, a call to action that urges you to make a difference, no matter the size of your contribution. And her recent TEDx talk, From Pain to Passion, details her journey of motherhood, philanthropy, and beyond. Kat, thank you for joining me. Let's carry on.
Hey, girl. Did I just say, hey, girl?
Yes. Hey, girl is okay.
I was just so enthralled looking at you. You're just so beautiful. I'm like, who is she talking about?
Talking about you, gorgeous.
And I, yeah.
All right.
That
Let's get
happened.
into it. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Because, a lot of people are, smacked in the face with tragedy and don't think, how can I make this into something that is beyond me, that is beyond my tragedy? How did you even get out of bed after Shane's death and think, I've got to do this? Like, tell me about that process of healing.
It's a good question because there was a moment that took me out of bed, but I stayed in bed for 6 months and
Yeah.
was, even though I had a large community and it was a lot of love and a lot of support, I just couldn't see myself walking around the outside without my son by my side, without strolling his carriage. My plans for the future, like many, because I had plans in my head for the future for him.
Sure.
And those were, became dashed. And I got a beautiful letter from my sister-in-law, Miriam, who lives in Westchester. She's no longer with us, but she helped change everything for me by sending me a newspaper article about a woman who did something good in her son's memory. And he also passed away of spinal muscular atrophy, which was Shane's rare genetic disorder.
Mhm.
They were saying there was 1 in 40,000, and both parents had to carry this gene, this missing gene. And, for 10 days or so, he wasn't even diagnosed. We just lived in the hospital with him.
Mhm.
And so this article came about 6 or 7 months into me being in my depression. And when Amy Barzak was her name, and I read it, and I called the newspaper. I forgot I was in Connecticut, and I wanted to speak to this woman more on the lines of, wow, her son was 9 months old when he passed away. His name is
Oh, wow.
Jonathan. And she started not in a public space, but in a Jewish community center, something called Jonathan's Dream. And it was a playground. And there was nothing I hadn't heard, just the thought and the spark that she would do something good in his memory and that I could do something good in my son's memory took me off me and took me to, wow, what about other kids that are not playing? And this beautiful woman, Amy, look at the community that she's serving, and she mentored a lot of the first.
So Amy Barzak, who lives in Connecticut, the article was, she was able to mentor me, and a village and Shane's Inspiration began. She
Wow.
also encouraged me to use Shane's name, because at first I was not sure about that. I didn't want to make it about only us, because it's really for the children that he could have inspired me to do this for
Sure.
for children. I was incensed to find out that all the playgrounds that were called accessible were actually not playable.
Oh,
And of course, I didn't believe that.
Right.
So I went to the playgrounds and with my friend, and who also started with me, Tiffany Harris, for Shane's Inspiration. And we were like, wait a second, so how would you get from there to there? And
if
we
you're
brought
in a wheelchair.
We
Yeah.
We're like, no, you can't with wood
Especially in
chips.
sand.
Wood
Yeah.
chip sand
Yeah.
was, forget it. But even the newer playgrounds that were accessible had a ramp. So you can get through the wood chips, which are really not accessible. Think about being in walkers, not just
Yeah.
a wheelchair. So we're like, okay, that's not accessible. And then the ramp, I come to find out that only 10% of children with disabilities, physical disabilities, that they can't leave their apparatus behind, their wheelchair, their crutches.
Right.
So only 10% who can then opt to slither along even now I say it, I'm like, who came up with that idea being accessible and not playable? So his brother or sibling or peer, brother, sibling is the same, would play, and I could be here on the sidelines or just play a little bit, like from the floor. It just, I don't know who could have even came up with that idea. And so I'm incensed now when I think about it. But today, through the village and the organization and so many beautiful donors and supporters, we've changed the way inclusion for children look, with children with all abilities playing side by side. So children with all abilities can ask each other the questions that used to be taboo when we were growing up. When I was growing up, it was taboo to, like, your mom would say, okay, just don't.
Yeah.
you
Don't
wanna
ask. Don't look. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And it turns out, through what we did, so many meetings before we built the actual playgrounds, and still do dreaming and design parties, where the children, their families would tell us what their needs were. Because how would we already knew the example when no one asked them.
Right.
They got accessible, but not playable.
Right.
So we were promising that we were going to make them playable for what they needed. And what it was is parallel play is what kids do at a certain age. So
Side by side.
Yes. And we have different age group, in the flagship park in Griffith Park, California. It's 2 acres of
Wow.
incredible parallel play that's always evolving too, because Landscape Structures became partners with Shane's Inspiration, and they're a big playground manufacturer. But when they got the message, and all the park and rec departments around California and now around the world really do consult with Shane's
That's
Inspiration.
incredible. To date, how many playgrounds has Shane's Inspiration created?
I lost count, but we're by 100, and they're on 5 continents. And
Wow.
also, as the mission evolved, education programs became available. First, they were immersion programs in high schools. Then we do what's called a lunchbox program that's evolved. Even I can't even keep up with it.
Wow.
And so they're in 5 languages in 30 countries.
That's
around
incredible.
the world. So it is incredible. It's a mission that grew beyond my wildest dreams about it, and past the one playground I was going to create in his memory, because one wasn't sufficient. When people used to come, they'd say, we were driving all this way. Can you make one in our neighborhood? Can you make one in Long Beach? Can you make one in San Diego and San Francisco? And so that's...
Oh, I love that, Kat. Now that's going to you have this amazing TEDx talk about this experience, and I'm going to read a quote you say in it, because I've seen it many times, and I want your thoughts on this. You say, the solution to pain is not to divide and separate, but to join and include. Tragedy is not the end of beauty. It could be the spark that ignites the beginning of something extraordinary. Do you think what you did at an individual level can create that ripple effect on a larger scale? And how have people been affected by that ripple effect? Because you are a collector of people. You definitely people flock to you. And with that statement, I love being a part of something extraordinary. What was that kind of like, ooh, like, how did you get that out of you? How did you like, I want to inspire all people to be active, not just people who have experienced tragedy?
I think it's a loaded question
I
with
know.
so many directions that I could go there. But I think my why in all the things that I've really thrown my hat over the wall to do, the why was there. And the why wasn't all wrapped up in knowing everything or, being an expert at
Mm-hmm.
everything or
Raising
anything.
money, building playgrounds. Like, yeah.
Right. It was the why. And I think early in my youth, I saw my mom having that compassion of, well, and probably me having the curiosity to say, well, why do we give money away? We don't have very much. How come
Mhm.
you're writing a check to them over there?
Mhm.
And she would explain. And I think that little spark of knowing that something out there that is bigger than you, it's like the commercial that, you tell a friend, tell a friend. And I got to see that, I think, pretty early on. And the idea in my head of, well, explaining that to the others to create this ripple effect is it has to be completely authentic with the passion. And so when I get that little why coming up from every part of my body up to here, it's like I don't even know how I do it sometimes.
Mm.
But the next thing I know, it's someone saying, yes, I'm going to do that with you. And yes, I'm going to help carry this load. And why I say it takes a village for so many things it does, it's because the work becomes the pleasure and the community. So when you're sharing it and having the ripple effect, which becomes community, and especially getting out of your own self, there's nothing better to help your woes than to be a part of something that lifts others.
Truly.
It got the grief lives side by side with the hope and the future. It doesn't go away. I had an experience of the first time I felt happy after Shane passed away, and I was so critical and judgmental of myself.
Yeah.
And I was in therapy at the time, which, is a good thing to do if you can. And I remember speaking to Barbara Solomon. She no longer is in this state, but she's an amazing therapist who had said to me that lifted the weight of Sisyphus that I was carrying up and down the hill on my shoulders. It lifted the weight because she said she saw that I thought one could only be. So if I'm not sad and grieving because I lost my child, which is, unthinkable, then I'm a terrible person. Then I
And that's societal guilt what you're talking about. That's like the pressure of people around you that we've kind of like created in our head.
oh yeah, I made it my own.
Yeah, we really do.
Talk about a ripple effect. You could ripple down the
other
bad
side
road as
yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
And once she created that ripple going up in my head, and I'm so grateful that I took it on as part of my mission and why, knowing that, and I do share that with other parents and other people who were grieving, because there will be a time where
They
you will
find
have happiness and you want to look towards that. And them living side by side, one is very buoyant right now and loves to talk about what we do and get others, and then there's the quiet one that knows that it's bittersweet. That here I am on this stage, talking around the country, doing the things that I do, writing books, and that this could be my story.
Yeah.
And even now, it's just like, I didn't love that this is my story, but it is, and to do something good with it is, and create a ripple effect.
It's huge.
Friends, it's Carrie Murray. And if giving a TEDx talk is on your vision board, this is for you.
Ready for TED is an 8-week program led by my friend Tony Purry, PR exec, media trainer, TEDx speaker herself, and a fabulous guest on Carrie On. This guided experience is built just for women ready to clarify their message and craft a signature talk and share their big idea. Whether you're an expert, founder, or change maker, you'll expand your influence, raise awareness, and gain unshakable credibility when you hit the red circle. I know firsthand Tony supports women and has made progress, and it is remarkable. Apply now for readyforted.com and let Tony be your guide to the global stage. For women who want more than just a getaway, Two Peacocks Travel offers transformative journeys that blend adventure, connection, and empowerment. Imagine wandering the colorful streets of Morocco with new friends, sharing stories over a meal in Peru, or conquering a new challenge with the encouragement of a supportive travel group. These experiences aren't just about places. They're about people, growth, and creating traditions that extend beyond the trip. It's time to travel with purpose and find your travel bestie and make an unforgettable memories. Join the movement at twopeacockstravel.com. Fast forward, you did amazing things with Shane's Inspiration for 30 years. You're like, I'm not done. And then there's a pandemic. Let me be a co-founder of another nonprofit. And then you founded She Angels Foundation with Catherine Gray. Tell me what sparked that inspiration.
That is, my mission felt somewhat complete with Shane's Inspiration. And Shane's Inspiration, which is called Inclusion Matters by Shane's Inspiration now, is thriving and building playgrounds. And I'm part of this. Shane is my son. I'm always part of that. But I was feeling a little
itchy,
a little lazy, a little like, okay, here's the pandemic. Here's my glass of wine. Here's my computer. Okay, wake up in the morning. Here's my glass of wine. Oops, no, that's going to be water. Like, okay. And prior to that, I did do 4 times in a row. You might have been even to my conference called Women with a Purpose Conference.
Yes.
And we'd have 250 women in the room. And I just loved the community, but I just felt that wasn't going more. I think women wanted more. I wanted more from that. And then, of course, I came across that one line that
tell it to the people. Listen up, everybody.
Only 1.8% of all U.S. charitable giving go to women and girls causes. That's less than animals receive. I love animals. We have lots of them. Yeah. They're around. But we receive less. And that study done by the Lilly Family Foundation, I think that is the name of it, was done in 2016, and nothing else put us on the chart like that. And that included medical, where,
like breast cancer, like everything.
Well, it included medical, like Planned Parenthood and clinics and dollars. I'm like, that is... what percentage of dollars is that? I'm like, Google, Siri, somebody help me do this, because this does not compute. And I didn't compute with them. They would find, and there was not a whole lot of research, but what there was the truth. I read Philanthropy today, every day, and occasionally something is always popping up about that. And I think people thought, as I did, because you see, wow, more women founders, more women doing this, more women doing that. Well, more compared to what?
Right.
And the answer is the hard truth. It's only 1.8% of all that giving goes directly to young girls, women, higher education for women, programs, whether they're science or IT or leadership or domestic violence. That's it's by women. Not that men don't have that. And,
correct.
But there's more funding for that. Women coming out of the military, there was no funding to help them get back into their own. Very little funding to get back into what the world would look for them as a woman. So there's so many things that were uncovered by that. And again, it took a village, and I knew I did not want to lift this alone.
Yeah.
I learned a few. I say that was wisdom born of pain. And, so yes, I am wise. And I called Catherine Gray and I said, okay, this...
I got an idea.
And do you want to You want to hop on this bandwagon with me? I have the nonprofit. I had all of this experience. I do and was for a long time mentoring nonprofit leaders, some of them in very large, um, not grassroots organization, the executive directors. And I had
Oh, wow.
I mentored them for receiving boards and how, and a lot of so many things that I
Right.
learned on the job. And because I was curious, I asked questions and I didn't care,
And I love She Angels. I loved being asked to be a part of it. I think what's brilliant about your model is you've gotten rid of all of the muck. So, like, just for everyone to understand, when you apply for a grant as a nonprofit, you send it out with a prayer. You never get like received or you're approved unless you're approved, or we considered you. It's like a hope and a prayer. So with She Angels Foundation, it's like you get the cash, here's your check. That you have eliminated all the red tape. Tell us about that model you created.
Well, the collective giving, so there's funds, and we don't have a very large overhead. I mean, a gift from the pandemic, if we can call some, is the Zoom and in home, and you can employ and volunteers. So we're a volunteer organization with very little output. But the money that comes in can be disseminated quickly and smartly, but we couldn't do it without a process. And part of our process is creating the grant application, which is online, that they can, if there's 3 high-end criteria notes, and if they fall into that, they should go in and fill out a very simple grant form, because they're already doing some heavy lifting. We don't want that to be their heavy lifting, which I was on the other end of that. And I know how hard they used to make it, or they do make it, to receive a grant. And then secondly, that comes in to our grant vetting team. So we have that ripple effect of bringing our community together, like you and your friends. And we have people in high places.
We have friends that are lawyers and doctors and
Professionals.
accountants and professionals in business
that get our mission, and it's become their why. And so they donate their time. And so we have 7 women at this time, it evolves, that are on our advisory board, that are part of the vetting committee, because the grant applications come in and they have to really
Go through,
it goes through the process. And then once that process is through them, then it comes into my lap, and then with the head of that vetting board, we make it into a short sentence and send the ones that looked great to the board of directors, of which I'm on as well, and we make a decision that way.
Gotcha.
And we give a grant a month these days. And they're typically $5,000. We just gave a $20,000 grant.
Yeah.
That was the largest one we've given so far. We have given several, 4 or 5 times, a $10,000 grant. And we are revisiting, because now we're in our 6th year, we're revisiting some of the organizations that we really want to continue buoying, and we might give them another grant after the 2nd year. And so 65 organizations.
That's incredible.
The
across
short
the
time.
country too.
Yes, across the country. We
All
have
servicing girls or women, or girls and women.
And our Giving Circle in New York, so we created Giving Circles as another program in New York, which has an amazing group of women who want to also support their community. It's called 3 Tomatoes and Glow Beauty and Health Magazine. These 2 women got together that have these magazines and said, our friends want to be a part of this. So it's not a chapter, but we call them circles, because it's under the guise of we do the vetting and we give the grant, and we're together, but we're expanding we're planting our flag all around the country. Our aim is to have at least 15 giving circles around the country, so we can spread the word too.
Yeah.
Because money is important and the grants are important.
Oh yeah.
But the message to know that less than 1.8% of all that charitable giving only goes to women, is a wake-up
Doesn't go
call.
to women.
Doesn't go to women.
Oh, yeah. Women only get 1.8%.
That's right.
Whew.
It's how little we
Yeah.
get needs to go out there. So that's the Giving Circles program.
Love that. What advice would you give to a woman who wanted to start something big like this? Because it's daunting, and they're probably going to wait to get permission. What would you say to her? How would you say, hey, just jump in and do it?
I'd say, girlfriend, get on the GSD team, get shit done.
Yeah.
Means that you take out a piece of paper and write a permission slip yourself, because there's no one coming to write you a permission slip. Could you remember the last time you asked your parent to write you a permission slip when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Hey, I don't want to go to school today. Could you write me like that? That's not happening. You had to be on your deathbed, which was 101 temperature, and you were sick. That was, that didn't change. And especially for women, our voices were not lifted when we were little, and they're still not.
No, we were told to be quiet and sit down.
We need to be at the table, and to be at the table, you need to write your permission slip. And if you want like a step-by-step guide, I wrote my book. So,
Tell us.
Well, Philanthropy on a Shoestring, how to make a difference on $1.40 a day, because literally $1.40 a day, 10 friends, 365 days equals $511 per person. So that's $5,111. I'm like, that $5,000 that you could raise between your friends, you can give a grant a year if you like. And you can have leftover for pizza and wine. Because it's only $5,000 grant. You'll have celebration. You'll feel good. You'll be inspired. It really is, to me, the new book club. My journey right now is to, the concept of philanthropy is to really change that on its
head.
Exactly, because $1.40 a day is less than a cup of coffee. And we can all afford to do it on a shoestring budget, on a budget. And I get it. A lot of us are, and money is important, but it'll change you.
The act of giving and it definitely inspires empathy, and it's like picturing yourself in the shoes of somebody else and getting out of your comfort zone and your bubble, like showing up at organizations like anytime I've seen a grant being awarded to these organizations, these women are in tears. Kat, it's impressive. Just the one we just had with the Feisty Moms, she's in tears. Like, this grant is going to help keep the lights on. It makes such a difference. And when you break it down to it's $1.40 a day, it kind of goes like, oh, what am I complaining about?
Right. I think it's not, it's challenging conventional concepts of what philanthropy is to most people, which is got big dollars.
You have to have millions.
Change. Yeah. Right. You're going to, and if you don't, well, I don't have an impact kind of thing. I'm like, that is not okay. So I'm going to say that, get on the get shit done for $1.40 a day. And if you have $3, like give yourself a challenge, put yourself, and then share it with your friends. Don't just listen to me, or do listen to me and get my book, Philanthropy on a Shoestring, because it's pretty much a very small book and a guide, because I don't have the time or the wait around. It's critical that we do stuff now.
Yes, I agree.
So,
I think that the book also leads perfectly into your TEDx talk, which I'm going to add to the show notes here. So please, after you watch this episode, comment and click on the TEDx talk. It's top of the comments. Tell me about how that you really break down, it's women are getting 1.8%. It's $1.40 a day. How does this resilience come so naturally to you? Tell us how you got to get to that TEDx talk and really just hammer it in.
I don't know if resilience is the word, because, bouncing back doesn't flow for me. But going forward, that pulls me. The future, seeing so it's the pull from the future. I have a 25-year-old daughter. I have nieces that are young and having babies at this moment, and literally they're close, but it's about them and for the future of these girls that we want to have their permission to speak. That book is great by Samara Bay.
It's very
by the
good.
way, because that has a history
Shout out
of
Samara.
why. Yeah, of why. And so that is what put me up on that stage. Not that I wasn't scared to do it, because you had to put your whole life in 10 or 12 minutes. Like, okay, how am I going to sum this up? So it was not an easy task, but it wasn't a task when I knew that the message was to move this needle forward for our girls and for the boys as well, because, a strong girl is, behind a lot lot of men that
Well.
help buoy them. Well, we know that.
we know that.
That's
we know something
definitely
about
what
that.
makes that possible.
What does Ali Wong says? She would be so much more successful if she had a wife.
Oh my God!
Can you imagine?
It's very true.
Yeah.
We, a lot of times we put down our sword and shield by the riverside. Okay, I'm not going to sing the whole song. Don't worry, because
we don't have the rights.
We
Please don't.
are sourcing. We are sourcing our spouse to become the best that they can be.
Yes.
And we're happy to do it. It's easy for us to do it. So we don't acknowledge our own worth. And I want to say this is something very big to do. Acknowledge your own worth from the minute you wake up in the morning and like throughout the day. And that is, not something that I used to think was selfish. I love myself. One of my sisters used to say, well, you love you. And then when I realized, yes, I do, because I got to love me so I can love you and pass this forward. So that is, and that's part of your why. And I think a lot of us have that why, but we're not giving ourselves the permission. So permission has a lot to do with changing it and creating a ripple effect.
Yeah. And you gave yourself permission to be on that TEDx stage.
Well,
bravo.
Yes.
Believe
me, when I had to tell my daughter, like, I'm going to do this, she's like, Mom, like, that's the hardest. But, and then afterwards, I threw my hat over the wall there, didn't know. And I really am grateful that I did it.
Yeah.
And I hope that those sparks of words can carry on to the next generation and the ones that are here right now.
And you're doing that. And I think anyone listening right now, if they want to, of course, after they watch your TED Talk and buy the book, what would you suggest they just get it done? You've written your permission slip. How do they find that anchor like you found?
One small action at a time. I know this has been said in 6 ways to Sunday, but that's what I do. I get up, I make my bed. That's 90% of the time. Okay. 98% of the time now, because that I did something that feels great. There's the book, Make Your Bed by that. And that's the first thing. And then maybe thought in your head and write something down. Baby steps are not no steps, but you have to take action, because just in your head, a good idea is in your head a good idea.
Yeah.
And if you take the action and tell a friend if you need to, they might be the one that will inspire you back. Put yourself in good company. Make sure you're not putting yourself in the company that takes you backwards.
Yeah.
Because
have you
misery loves you.
Yeah. Have you had to break up with people who've tried to bring you backwards?
And it's hard.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of compassion for people that in general, and they're just doing the best they can. But I have had breakups, and it is not easy, but I need to move forward. And when you really can see that, and that's a hard thing, but I think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
That, that we have those breakups.
Yeah. I think everybody should audit their friend group at least once a year and be like, is this person filling up my cup? I think it's important. And especially after your age of 40, 50, you don't have time for all that bullshit anymore. It's like, we're done. We're done.
And I was so shocked in my 40s and then 50s and now 60s that how many amazing, great women, like-minded as might be used over and over, but we are like-minded.
Yeah.
And then I didn't think you could have more friends later on in life but the more your dream and the more your why is moving towards helping others and having a great time. By the way, I call it shallow deep from my friend Marilyn Kentz gave me that idea, because I could be up on a stage or in a room or just with my friends and we're talking really deep stuff just with a few of us. And then I notice your shoes and I go like, I gotta be honest. I know we're talking about deep stuff, but where did you get those? And then you'll say they're on sale. And then I'm like, I need to know right now.
Right.
It is the way we
camaraderie,
tick and
yeah.
the camaraderie, not to let go of all the fun things, because we're moving the needle forward on the future, and we're creating legacies, and all of that has to come with everything.
Yes.
And as Liz Swadek, who you know and has written some amazing words in her book,
Yes.
Finding Your Diamonds, that's it.
It talks about and just talking to her in general is about reminding me all the time about my inner child. And when you say inner child, it's like, yeah, I like to skip. I shouldn't be embarrassed to have this giggly, bubbly, silly. The word silly sometimes you think has to be out of your vocabulary.
Yes.
Because why? Because men are going to think you're silly.
Silly girl.
And then you're not going to get something accomplished.
Yes.
And that, oh my God, that just puts judgment. Oh, you're emotional because that little girl sees something and it moves her and she cries. So a man will say that, oh, well, she's, hormonal. It's like all of that has taken away the authentic joy that our little girl gets to have.
Sure.
And I'm like loving that little girl, and she's learned a lot, and I'm putting the wisdom with that.
Love that. I love that. So what's next for Kat Curry Williams? You TEDx, author, speaker, leader, founder. What else you got going on?
Well, I'm doing all those things and not putting all the burden on myself, having people like you on the advisory board, which is MVP of any organization, because they're the ones that GSD get.
Yes, we do.
For sure. I'm writing a book.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit?
I can tell you at this time the working title, but it is on my lips all the time. Today is the new someday.
Today is the new someday. I love that.
And it's life in my third act, where I am, where I was, where I'm going. And as I get into the chapters of where I'm going, I do have to, I'm like, well, this book, should I just write it over the next 10 years, or am I going to write it and get it out in the next year or so? Which is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And so that leaves a question mark, lifting us all, speaking about this, and honoring and knowing that I'm worthy, even if I don't know it, that I can still step into it. If I don't like it, guess what? That's my choice. I give myself the permission not to succeed at something that I might do in the future also. So, and then to succeed beyond my wildest dreams. So that's what I have.
So even with all your accomplishments, everybody hear this? Kat still feels a little bit of imposter syndrome, even though I just listed all of those wonderful attributes. Thank you so much for being my guest today. Where can all the people find you and all the places? Because you've got a lot.
I've got places.
Yes.
I'm CatherineCurryWilliams.com will probably take you to places where you can find my TED Talk, my book. SheAngelsFoundation.org is where you can see about what we're doing currently. ShanesInspiration.org is past and current and future as well. Is there other things?
Well, social media, but that's okay.
Yeah, Instagram. I don't.
Okay.
I don't
We'll email
remember
you.
those things.
That's all right.
But
We'll put it in the show
YouTube.
notes.
YouTube for my
yes,
TED Talk.
Exactly.
Go to the TED Talk, and probably there's notes in there.
There is.
Well,
Thank you so much,
Carrie
Kat.
On,
Yes.
as you said.
You've been a wonderful guest. I've also realized we both like having blue nails. So, and again, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to this episode. Please follow Kat. Go listen to her TEDx talk. It's really inspirational. And as always, keep your head above the chaos and carry on. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Carry On. Be sure to find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And as always, like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And don't forget to keep your head above the chaos and carry on.